In this video, I'm revealing specific profitable products that I've used to help me sell over $5 million in my Amazon store. Because I know a ton of new Amazon sellers get very overwhelmed by the process of actually sourcing profitable items. So I'm revealing some specific examples, and I'm going to show you exactly how I sourced all of these products so that you can go out and find your own great items to sell. But let's start with a pretty straightforward example here. I'm going to show you guys some good products, and I'm also going to show you some products that might look like they're good at first glance, but they could actually end up costing you a ton of money. I made a bunch of these mistakes myself, so I want to show you what the difference between good products and bad products look like. But let's just start with a super basic example, right? So this is selling at Walmart for $9.96 right now. It's sold by Walmart. It's just a simple pair of gray sweatpants, and this pair of pants actually sells over 400 times a month on Amazon, and it sells for about $24.50, right? So when I plug in $9.96 to SellerAmp, this is the first paid product research tool you'll need as an Amazon seller, by the way. It is going to show us a $4 profit, and by the way, this is after all of my fees and all that good stuff. So I'll even show you on the profit calculator down here. You can see total fees. I am including about 5% sales tax, and I'm also including inbound shipping, which is usually about 60 cents a pound when we're shipping to Amazon. So this is true profit after all those extra fees, all that good stuff. And we can use specific examples like this to find a ton more winning products. So I'm going to show you guys how to source items. But first, let's jump into a few more examples so you can see what good items look like versus not so good. So let's take a look at this shirt right here, right? This is selling for 36 bucks on Amazon, and on the brand's website, we can actually get this on sale today with a 30% coupon, buying this simple gray shirt for about $17 after that 30% coupon, which seems really good, right? It seems like $12 profit, 71% ROI. But one thing you probably want to be very careful of, and maybe this is worth the risk for you, but for me, it's a little bit risky because number one, see how it doesn't sell super fast. It's only about 24 sales a month. Usually I like to find things that sell at least 30 times a month. And down here on Keepa, this is the other product research tool you'll want as an Amazon seller. Both of those combined are $40 a month. You don't need any other software for sourcing inventory. You'll see a lot of complicated stuff out there. Just keep it nice and simple there. And you can see this is actually going to show me the price history over time. And you see how a lot of times this item was typically closer to $19. The price has been hopping up and down. Maybe you think it's worth the risk in this case since the profit is really good. This would just be something I would be very careful of, right? I know when I was a new Amazon seller, and I see a lot of new Amazon sellers do it as well, they'll buy an item where the price is just like very temporarily higher than normal. So it'd be even worse if it looked like this, right? Where it's almost always 19 bucks and then all of a sudden it popped up to a super profitable price point. And I'm not really in the business of losing $2 per unit, right? In this example, there's a decent little price bump when we go up there, and maybe you want to go hop on there and take some risk on an item like this. But personally, I like to make sure that I am nice and profitable at the 90-day average price right there. So we can see the 90-day average price on this item is about $24. So on average, I'm not going to quite make the ROI and profit that I typically like to look for. This is a little bit risky for my taste, right? So this is one of those examples of things you just want to find nice and consistently profitable products. If we go back to the item we started with, you'll see that the average price over the last 90 days is about 25 bucks, and we were profitable there. It's even a little bit cheaper than normal. You can see there's also that price chart where it seems nice and stable. Prices aren't going crazy. If anything, they'll hop up every now and then. See, there's some sales jumping up to even 34 bucks if we catch the right spot there. So that is kind of what we're looking for. We're looking for nice, stable profit on our items. And that takes me to another quick example of a product I want to show you, right? So you'll end up selling anything under the sun on Amazon. I've sold all kinds of stuff. In this case, we can sell some underwear. This is selling for $29 right now. And on the Macy's website, this actually sells for 14 bucks right now. And like I said, I'm just showing you guys examples, and we will source some of these profitable items together. But plugging in 14 bucks, you can see we're actually going to make a $5 profit and about 35% ROI. But I want to take this to the next step with you guys, right? So we see it sells really well. We can actually make this more profitable than it is right now by going to cardbear.com, and then I'm going to plug in Macy's. So what I can do on this website is go ahead and buy discounted gift cards, which basically just means I'll go into Card Depot's website I bought from all the time. You can see we can go in here and we can buy a $200 gift card to Macy's, and we're only going to pay $182, right? So this immediately gives us extra margin on our products. It'll just email a gift card to you, by the way. You just plug it in at checkout. It's usually nice and simple. And now we can do our $14 buy cost, and now we can also subtract 9% from our cost there. So we've made it even more profitable, right? So it was already a good item, and now it's even better. You can see it's a $6.70 profit, 52% ROI. So if you're worried about like returns and clothing and that kind of thing, the big thing is just to make sure your items are nice and profitable, make them as profitable as possible, and then you don't have to worry about prices dropping, returns costing you a little bit of money. It'll all be nicely baked in, basically. But let's keep it rolling. I'll show you another quick example of a winning item, right? So So a lot of times clearance products can be really good. And this is actually Goodfellow & Co. So this is a Target brand. Anytime you come across like a retail store brand, you know exactly where the sellers on Amazon have to be sourcing that item from. In this case, they have to be buying that from Target. There's no other place they can buy it. So it simplifies the sourcing process. And that can be a really good place for you to start sourcing. So Goodfellow & Co., Great Value, Up and Up, Kirkland Signature, all these different brands that are specifically sold by a retail store like Walmart, Target, Costco, that kind of thing. It just simplifies the process. And in this example, you can see Goodfellow & Co., we know where they have to be sourcing this from. And in this case, it is a nice clearance item. You might even want to buy a little bit more than normal, knowing that this clearance price, once this item's gone, it's gone. And then the prices on Amazon tend to go higher when an item just, you can't source it anywhere else. And in this example, we're going to see we actually need a little bit of a profit boost, right? So you can see buying this for $14.25, we actually are only about a 26% ROI. And now this is where we can start to really take advantage of these discounted gift cards, because a lot of new Amazon sellers, they would come in here and say, oh, this isn't profitable. But you and I know we can go to Card Cookie and get a 10% discount on a discounted gift card. And now I can say, hey, that $14.25, I can actually get a 10% discount on that. And now I've made an item that most Amazon sellers are skipping over into a profitable item. So that's the big thing to remember when we're doing sourcing, as you're making items profitable with coupons, loyalty rewards, discounted gift cards, all that kind of stuff. You're typically not finding them just straight up profitable at retail prices. Sometimes you are, like the example we started with, this was actually profitable at retail prices, but a lot of times you actually want to create as much margin as possible. That way your business has plenty of wiggle room. If new sellers hop on and you got competition, that kind of thing, you're still more profitable than everybody else. On this example, you can see buying it for about 13 bucks, $5 a unit on this. And by the way, the next logical question I hear from people is like, all right, these are good items, but how much of this should I buy? So on some of these specific products, usually I just recommend a 5 to 10 unit test order. We can also jump down to the data offers tab on Keepa. And this kind of helps me understand how fast an item is selling and if people actually pay those prices that might seem unreasonable. So in this example, you see how their stock was about 10 units on March 18th, and it was nicely decreasing over time. Number one, that shows me that people actually are buying this item. And number two, I can say, hey, the cheapest their price was this whole time was actually $37. So there's actually some evidence that we could maybe even charge a higher price than the current price is, because that person was having success right now selling it for $37 recently. So that'd be very profitable, right? I can also see down here on the offers tab, you see how fast this person sold their 10 units when they were at $33 right there. That's the price that we were expecting, even down to 31. And you can see they sold their 10 units within a matter of basically 3 days, because on April 3rd, they had 10. And then around the 7th, they were sold out. Yeah, that'd be about 4 or 5 days, something like that. And they actually sold 10. So there's evidence here that once you're in stock as an FBA seller for 33 bucks or so, you can sell at least one of these every day. So that kind of says, hey, instead of maybe that like 10, 5-unit test order, I might go in here and buy 30 or 40, because I'm seeing lots of people making several sales per day that they're actually in stock. So that's a good hack that you guys can definitely take advantage of. But let's keep the ball rolling and look at even more items together, right? So this item is something that I want to show you guys, just a pretty common trap to avoid. So on this product, you see how when I scroll down, there is that orange highlighting on this product, and we can even see it on the SellerAmp buy box analysis. So whenever Amazon is selling this product, they're not sharing sales with third-party sellers. So if you come across this as you're sourcing, just keep in mind that a lot of times Amazon tends to hog a lot of the sales on the products that they're actually selling. So this would be something you might want to avoid. In this case, especially recently, you could see Amazon has basically all of the sales over the last month or so here. So even if you would be profitable at Amazon's price point, typically you want to avoid that. You want to look for things that have buy box being shared between a lot of sellers, right? So this is a much better example. You can see lots of different small third-party sellers, bigger third-party sellers, all having success making sales. You can even see a lot of these don't have any feedback next to their name. There's 2 feedback. So if you're a brand new Amazon seller, like trying to figure out what you can actually sell, this would be a great starting point, right? Lots of very small Amazon sellers having success selling that, versus this, it seems like Amazon's getting the vast majority of the sales, especially recently. So just kind of one of those things to be aware of. Check the buy box analysis there and make sure that they're going to be able to share some sales. Before we keep moving on, hit the subscribe button. That's a free way to help me out. Help me have my goal of having 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. Let's jump into another example though. So this is 19 bucks at Macy's. Really just want to show you guys how much opportunity there is with this stuff. And like I said, we'll source another item profitable together. So you buying this for 19 bucks, selling this for 38 bucks on Amazon. So $6 profit. And don't forget, we actually have those discounted gift cards from Macy's, so we can still make this even more profitable with that 9% discount we were already thinking about there. So 19 bucks minus 9%. Now it's even more profitable. Sells 324 times a month. So I'd probably place one of those 5 or 10 unit test orders here, unless you can jump in and see that trick on the Keepa offers tab. Cuddle Duds, by the way, is also typically an auto-ungated brand. So if you're a brand new Amazon seller, I hear like the complaint all the time that I can't get ungated to sell anything, all that good stuff. You can start with auto-ungated brands like Cuddle Duds, Athletic Works, some Some of these brands I'm showing you guys today are auto-ungated, and those are great starting points for you to find some stuff that doesn't require as much jumping through hoops to be able to sell. If you are looking for an item that you are gated in, so when you go to try to list it on Amazon, it'll say apply to sell. If that pops up, just keep in mind that you can use an invoice from Target, from Macy's, from the brand themselves in this example to actually get ungated, and you'll just submit that to Amazon. I have a full ungating guide on the channel if you want to see that for free. You know, people used to charge literally thousands of bucks when I was getting started. So learn all that for free if that's still confusing you. And that also takes me into another quick example of something here. So this is something that takes a little bit of legwork, but a lot of times those products that take a little bit of legwork are the ones that stay nice and profitable. So you can see this is actually a 2-pack of these shirts right here that are $5 each. What we can do is we can just grab 2 units of that. Obviously, we want to combine our costs together. So it's going to cost us 10 bucks. You can see it is nice and profitable there when I plug all that in. And then when you go to list this on Amazon, you'll ship all of these products into Amazon FBA. You'll use Boxum as the software that you want to use to actually create shipments that'll track your profit, all that kind of stuff. And then through the process, it'll show you when things need to be polybagged together, how to prep it, all that kind of stuff. So in this case, we would take 2 of those shirts and we would put them down into the same clear poly bag. I'll even show you. You basically just grab some clear poly bags on Amazon like this, put 2 of those shirts down in the bag, and then when you ship those off to Amazon, they're going to receive that as a 2-pack and sell it to your customers as a 2-pack basically. So that's another one of those good things to take advantage of. This is another nice and profitable item. And then one other red flag I want you to be aware of: when you're sourcing products, you might come across things that the brand themselves already sells. If that's the case, you typically want to avoid that, just because the brand might have interest in kicking another third-party seller off. They want all the sales for themselves. If you owned your own brand on Amazon, you'd probably want to do the same thing. And just keep in mind, there are about 750,000 products on Amazon that the brand doesn't sell. They sell at least 30 times a month, and Amazon doesn't sell. So there's plenty of opportunity. You just got to stay away from stuff like this, where you can see down here on the buy box rotation, you see how Urban Decay is basically getting 98% of the sales. They're also the brand of this product, and they're the only seller on this listing. You want to avoid listings that look like this. And especially if you go back into the history of this item, you can see how that stock count decreased all at once. You see how the new offer count was around like 23, 24, and then all of a sudden it dropped to 1 right away. This could be a sign that they basically gave an IP complaint, or they wanted to kick all the third-party sellers off of this listing. So before you look at an item, just make sure the brand doesn't sell it, and make sure that the new offer count is nice and steady. There's no history of everyone getting kicked off all at once. If we look at one of these products where it is definitely reseller friendly, you can see how it naturally goes up and down over time. And even though it has a nice decrease here during this period, you can see it's just probably people just selling out basically, and it's not any history of a ton of people getting kicked off all at once. You can see it naturally decreases one by one, even though it was dropping quickly. So that's what you're looking for. You want to avoid items that the brand already sells, or there's a big drop off in the new seller count. And that'll just keep your account healthy. Make sure you're selling things that third-party sellers are actually allowed to sell on the platform. But with all that in mind, I'm going to show you the sourcing method that I use to find all these winning profitable items, and we're going to find another one together, right? So on all of these items, especially any of these that are auto-ungated brands like Athletic Works, Stafford, you could find a ton of winning items just by looking at what the other Amazon sellers on these listings have already sourced. So I'm just going to pop open like one of these Athletic Works sellers. You can see this person had 2 feedback, and I think this is even the storefront I was looking through. You'll see some of these probably look pretty familiar as we're scrolling through here, and I was finding lots of winning items in this storefront. So I'm just going to keep scrolling through here until we find another winning item. And you can see here's those pants right there. So Stafford is one of those auto-ungated items. And as we're looking through this storefront here, I can see what is the maximum cost that I need to pay for this item for it to be profitable. And I can see that price history. So in this case, I can see, hey, that price history looks pretty stable, like that orange price line, maybe a little bit lower than normal right now. And if I can buy this for $12.39, then I'm going to be profitable basically. So I can check it out. A 4-pack might be like $16.80 or something like that. Let's make sure they've got all the white ones there. So we'll need a really good discounted gift card or something like that. We can see, so that's after our coupon code as well. So it's probably not going to be quite there, but we can definitely check. So JCPenney, see what kind of discount we can create at JCPenney. Today, it looks like we can add an extra 11.8%. I'm just going to round down to 11% just to be nice and safe, $16.80. And then we want to subtract our 11% right there. So this is close to profitable, right? So $3.51 profit, but the ROI isn't quite where I like to have that ROI hanging out at. You can see that there is a good history of this item selling for in this range, like 28, even a little bit lower than that current price. Not the best item there. We definitely can keep looking though, and we can also check and see if any of these other sizes are profitable right now. So it usually goes for 27. So like we're talking about, we want to look for things that are like nice and consistently profitable. Right now, this is probably profitable if I had to guess, like 30, 33, 50-ish is what it's selling for. I like to look for things that are profitable, like that 90-day average like we were talking about. So this item is profitable right now, but we can find something more consistently profitable. Let's see. So this is actually interesting. So I noticed on the Keepa chart here, and this would be good to point out. So we talked about how selling products that Amazon is on is usually a bad idea, but you notice how the buy box line line is actually pretty consistently under the Amazon price. So this would be one of those exceptions where we can compete with Amazon. They're just not lowering their price to where third-party sellers are at for some reason, and we could still hop on this and make some sales. In this case, I doubt we're going to get a nice Gap branded hoodie for $6. We can always check. Let's see. So it's $20. So we'd need one heck of a coupon, gift card, that kind of thing. So I'm not going to spend too much time digging deeper on that, but that is a good kind of a thing to point out, right? So it's not always you have to stay away from products that Amazon are on, but in that example, we probably do. And let's see, we got some more of these like underwear here. So this is actually maybe profitable. You see how this is popping up at $17.70. Let's check it out. So blue turquoise, I think that's the one we had, or is it this one? Make sure we got the right item before we waste too much time. Yeah, so those pictures look the same. The nice 3-pack there. So this is $17.70. And so when we're plugging that into SellerAmp, I can see right now it's a $4 profit. The ROI isn't quite there, but we've already known that we can get that. I think it was 9%. Yeah, it was 9% on those discounted gift cards from Macy's. So minus 9% right there. And now we've made this item profitable. So this is a lot more consistent as well. You see how that price is nice and stable, hanging around that $34 price point or so. We could see on average, where is it at? On average, it's about $32, $31. So I would like to see maybe a little bit higher on average, but it's still not too bad, especially since the profit right now is pretty good. And on average, you were making a 20% ROI. Something like underwear, people usually know what size there are. There's not going to be too many returns. We can also see, are there any other sizes on this that are more profitable than that one right now? Let's see. So down here on the Keepa variations tab, I'm able to see all the different versions. And then I like to just sort by the current new price. So in this example, I can see some of these are actually at like $45 right now. I want to see that price is consistent though. So let's see, this is usually like $39, $32. And what is this? It's like that black teal. I think we did actually, that's the one we were looking at first. Yeah. So that one would be a little bit more interesting maybe. The lowest price that has been at recently is like $32. And then right now it's actually like a $45 product. So that'd be maybe worth the risk. I also like to look for products that have increases in ratings recently. That just shows me that people are actually more interested in buying that. I mean, let's see. So something like this, like the XL seems more interesting than the large. I think this is what we're starting at. You see how the price is usually around like 32, 31, but this one has a lot more consistent history being like $33 and above. Let's see if we're buying that for 33, what's it right now? Yeah. So 33, it's 0.2% ROI under where I usually like to look for, but especially since it on average might be even higher. You can see it popped up to 39 even for a little bit there. Yeah. So that would be something I'd be a lot more interested in grabbing 10, 20 units of, especially since this sells decently well. Should have no problem getting through those units there. And that's basically the process, right? So it's just continuing to go through these storefronts here, how to create as much profit margin as possible, comparing those to sales that are going on right now and just sniping those limited time deals. And a lot of people make this process way too complicated on themselves. Just keep in mind that as you're looking through storefronts, if you aren't finding much that's even like close to profitable within the first 10 to 15 products, usually I'll just go back to that original source listing or even go to one of those items that are profitable. You guys got tons of starting points for this sourcing method just on today's video, and you can start looking at all the sellers, seeing what brands they're having success on. That's just going to expose you to a ton of new ideas as an Amazon seller. So you can see some of these other people might have completely different brands, and this wallflower, for example, I've never even seen this in storefronts. So there's just a ton of different opportunities for you to go out there and start sourcing. So make sure you grab a 2-week free trial of SellerAmp so you can actually start sourcing these items. And so the second piece of the puzzle, now that we know how to source profitable items, now you need to know this next step of the process, which is listing those products on Amazon, seeing how much profit everything is making, and actually making those sales as fast as possible. And to do that's where you'll use the last software that you need as an Amazon seller, at least when you're getting started, and that's going to be Boxum. If you want to see how Boxum works and start making those sales on Amazon as soon as possible, click this video right here.